Am I back? Seem to have things popping in and out here. I think I'm live. The screen just died on me for a second. Um, I was so anyway. This it's Thursday, July 24th, and it's Mind Over Matter. I had something specific planned, and I had done my sort of homework for this um, this session and this hangout, and going through some stuff this morning before we got fired up, and I came across this quote, and quote was from Winston Churchill, and it really, I basically I'm redirecting everything I was going to do today, and we're going to go with this instead. And the quote was quite simple. Um, it starts with a question, a statement, and a follow-up statement. So the question is, you have enemies? Good. That means that you stood up for something sometime in your life. Winston Churchill. And I think that sometimes when we get through to and the reason why I wanted to bring it here today was because I found it immediately relatable to the concept of personal growth. Tell me this. Um, have you ever purchased a personal growth, or they like to call them self-help books? And have you ever found yourself sort of hiding the title when you're reading it, or only reading it when you're not around other people, or it's just you're essentially reading this book in secret? And I've talked to a number of different leaders, even leaders that are multimillionaires in the industry of online marketing and online business. And they have related the same story, that in the beginning of their career, if you will, and when they first started reading and started building their mindset and growing their knowledge of the industry, that they too hid themselves from the public when they were trying to better themselves, right? So Winston Churchill had said it best: do you have enemies? Good. That means that you've stood up for something sometime in your life, and that something could just be you. You wanting to stand up and say, "Hey, I can do better, and here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn." And I think that unfortunately, there's a stigma to wanting to want more, to learn more, to become more, and so that kind of puts us into that little hole where we don't fight for that right to stretch ourselves, right? And I know I had a friend of mine, a person that I work with, not online but offline, and they have constantly struggled with the same concept of having confidence and feeling that there's a fine line between being confident about their skills and being cocky and arrogant, and generally choosing to back down instead of stand up because they don't want to offend anybody. Well, I'm here to let you know that if you're planning on making a run for something and having some success, first thing you're going to need to do is change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, it is going to change the way you think, and it is going to give you more confidence. And you are going to start to, for lack of a better phrase, piss some people off. See, people don't like change, right? They don't want their friends to change. The crab in the bucket theory, right? And if you're not familiar with that theory, if you stick a bunch of crabs in a bucket and they're all squirming around doing their thing, and one of them gets up to the top of the bucket, trying to pull themselves out, the other crabs in the bucket will grab onto their legs and pull them back down. And the concept is simple. They in theory, they're protecting this crab because they don't think it's safe in the bucket, so don't go out. So by all rights, the people who are angry with you, I'm trying to protect you, they think they're doing well, but they are holding you back. So one of the things I had said to this person when I was sending them this quote from Winston Churchill to try and help them with their newfound confidence. And I wrote this. I said, the confidence will create some division among those who haven't seen it in you before. But it is that very confidence and division that will tell you who to align with to achieve your goals, not their goals. So the idea is quite simply, if you've got something you want to accomplish, you may have to strike out on your own and leave some people behind. Doesn't mean you forget them, and it doesn't mean they're not important to you. It just means that you've got something to do. You're on a quest, if you will. And I think that people struggle with that. The concept of personal growth. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that just make fun of the concept completely. What are you reading those books for? Trying to change the world? No, actually, I'm just trying to change myself, but thanks for checking. So I do think that one of the biggest struggles we have in business is a mindset issue. I think it varies based on the age of the person coming into the industry, the level of success they've had to this point, and perhaps the level of failures that they've had, and whether or not those failures are taking their toll, or whether or not the failures are teaching them. Because every failure is a teachable moment. Every failure is an opportunity to learn how to do something better the next time. And if you don't have any kind of analytical thinking, which is a mindset, if you don't have an analytical thinking about evaluating your performance. The words they're not flowing today. They're just stuck on my tongue. If you don't have a value or if you don't have a process by which you're evaluating your performance, then you're kind of at the mercy of fate, which is fate is if you're just assuming that fate will keep you moving in the same direction forever, you haven't realized that you're in control. And a lot of times the crabs in the bucket will pull you back down and say, no, just hang tight, everything will work itself out. Well, it won't work itself out unless you're actively looking for things to change. Because working itself out, the definition, that whole phrase, what does that mean? That things are going to change for the better or stay the same. If you don't like the way things are and you want them to change, you're going to have to make some changes. So even though I had like I said, I had a very what I thought was a great topic planned for today, I couldn't get out of my mind this entire how strongly Winston Churchill's quote was completely relatable to the concept of making a personal decision to change your mindset. And considering, in my personal opinion, the single greatest asset you have when it comes to building a business is your mindset. If you can fall back on that mindset day in, day out, no matter how your marketing is going, no matter how your body text is going, no matter how terrible your headlines are, no matter whatever it is that you're doing that isn't working out, your blog post isn't coming together, you've tried to write it 16 times and it still sounds like crap, so you just want to toss it in the garbage. Your mindset is still intact, provided you're working on it every day. 30 to 60 minutes a day needs to be 100% focused on. 30 is a minimum. 60s are recommended, and up to 90 to 120 minutes would be ideal if you have the time. But whether it's read a book, listen to audio, listen to this show, whatever it is that you can get your hands on, it does need to be part of your schedule. If you're not working on your mindset every day, somebody else is. And because at every moment of every day, as soon as your eyes open, You're being inundated with information. We live in that kind of a world today where you're just the constant flow of information is coming at you nonstop, and whether you understand it or not, you're being influenced by that information. It could be you know, everything comes into your brain, and you decide what to do with it, right? And if your mindset's not strong and you haven't protected the health of your mindset, then it can be influenced. And unfortunately, that is kind of where the world is today. People's mindsets have been influenced to the point of, they're almost robotic at times. They're certainly not progressive, and they're certainly not in a place where they're in a belief that they are capable of anything. I have these conversations with people about, whatever they think they can do. I have 2 teenage kids. We try and talk to them about, whatever they think they can do it. And you're just looked at like you're from Mars, because they're just coming out of high school, where they pretty much went to their high school, and they went to their graduation. One of my oldest, and one of the things they said there, and I couldn't even help but make a comment, like, to myself, but out loud, because it just came out. But they said something to the effect that, we've given your children, and I hope that, they were trying to impress upon these kids that, we've given you all the tools you need to succeed in the world today. And I'm like, and you've given them no tools, none, zero, zilch, zip. What I need to see in schools, when you want to start teaching kids, you need to have a mindset class, and they need to be taking it from grade 9 right through grade 12. And they read books like Think and Grow Rich, The E-Myth, The Magic of Thinking Big. They read leadership books by John C. Maxwell, The Laws of Teamwork, the Laws of Leadership, all of his great books. Anything that feeds their mind. I mean, I'm drawing a blank on them. Start with Why. There's another great book. A newer author to the scene, younger guy, but it's they should be watching this whole class. I mean, I should start the class, but this whole class should be designed around audios, books from Jim Rohn, Anthony Robbins, all these different great orators. That they could, and that is what they would design the entire class around, and send these kids 4 years through high school, where it's mandatory, and every year somewhere they've taken it, that they're taking these classes, so that even if you take 1 or 2 of these kids and crack open that skull that has been that mindset that has been poisoned for the number of years, and get them coming out of high school with a vision that they can accomplish anything. I mean, to me, that would be fantastic. But back to the point at hand, which was, if you stand up for something sometime in your life, then you're going to end up with some enemies. And I mean, they're certainly not going to be Winston Churchill wasn't loved by everybody, but he certainly, because he stood up for some things. Maybe not everybody agrees. And what we're saying here at Mind Over Matter is that it's time to stand up for yourself. Your right to improve the version of you that you are. I know that I used to be, just like I mentioned earlier, hiding the books that you're reading, and I used to do the same thing. And I don't anymore. I just sit down and read my book. If somebody wants to make a comment, then I just laugh it off and move on, because I understand that their mindset's holding them back. I guarantee you the person that's making a comment is not going in the direction I'm going. And that's okay with me now. But that's something that you have to come to terms with. And your mindset is your most powerful asset, and you have to protect it. You have to protect it with as strongly as you protect your own children. And it's just, you have to, because it's so vitally important to your success. You need to grab a hold of a mentor or a leader that and ask them for their advice. find out which books that they think you should read if you're not reading any right now. Even if you are reading, take a index of, or pardon me, not an index, a inventory of the books that you're reading. Discuss it with your mentor. Discuss it with your your coach or trainer. If you don't have a coach, trainer, or mentor, then you should probably look for one, because you're going to need some support. The odds are pretty good. The people around you at this time are not the ones you're going to want to lean on for support in your personal growth, because if you're not into personal growth, the likelihood is that they aren't. There was another quote that said you can evaluate your future just by taking a look at the people around you that you spend the most time with. And for some people that might be a pretty scary thought. Might be a pretty scary window, but understand that having success does require some change, because if you've gotten to a certain point in your career, or you've tried 5 or 6 different MLMs, or even 2 or 3, and things haven't worked out, and you've kind of got to a certain point and it hasn't worked, so you go off and try another one, and you get to the same point and it doesn't work anymore, and you go and try another one. And remember that there's one constant, and that was you. Okay, the fact remains is that you're not ready for the level of success you're wanting, because you haven't made the shift in mindset that you need to make. And without that shift in mindset, you're actually going to find yourself frustrated and maybe moving backwards at times. So costing you a lot of money too, I'm sure. But the good news is there is absolutely it's never too late. Picking up a book. If you're not a reader, great. All this stuff is on audio. You can get it all. It's so easy to get an audiobook today, it's ridiculous. With the technology we live in, the world that we live in for access to that kind of thing, there's no reason or excuse why you don't have quality audio playing in your car. Think about this: if you're working outside of the home, so that means you have a commute. What are you listening to? What are you feeding your brain in your commute? Most people, it's some sort of disc jockey, and they don't even call them disc jockeys anymore, I doubt. But anyway, radio personality of some kind that is feeding you all kinds of garbage, and generally, weird news from the day, and sometimes, or you're listening to the news or talk radio or something awful like that, because it's feeding your brain negative imagery and negative. So start putting in some audiobooks. But if you're in a carpool and you want to start listening to audiobooks, I promise you're going to get some pushback. But here's what we have to say: do you have enemies? And enemies doesn't mean they're like we're talking war and people hate you. Just people that disagree with you, they would be considered an enemy from a definition standpoint. The answer is good. That means you stood up for something sometime in your life, as Winston Churchill put it. So you're standing up for your willingness to listen to an audiobook. That's going to improve your life and the lives of the people in the car, but it's going to get met with some pushback, but that's okay. Never feel bad about wanting to improve yourself. Never feel that you have to apologize for that. That's probably, never apologize for doing something good for yourself. There's in the students I referred to earlier, one of their biggest setbacks, in my opinion, is that I see, I guess, is that they apologize all the time, even when they've done something that doesn't hurt anyone, doesn't impact anybody else's lives, but they know that some people were not happy about it because they did something for themselves. And so they got some blowback from some people that are, clearly self-centered, and the blowback actually forces them to feel guilty. And then they get back into that cycle where they back down and they apologize. So recently, this person, received a new a position. They got a different job, and it was a second promotion in the last 6 months or so. And it's because she's becoming more confident, and I had to continue to relate to them that, you're going to run into some pushback. You're getting into that territory where, the ideas that they're coming up with, the ideas that they're presenting, they're fantastic ideas. They're based in they're system based, which is part of the whole leverage secret. They're creating systems for the environment they're working in, and the people above her are noticing and wanting to have her. But that's going to create. She's going to create a place where people are not necessarily going to be her best friend. And the biggest challenge I have right now is trying to maintain the confidence level that it's okay if not everybody, likes everything you're up to. So most of the time they're just jealous, right? Oh, you're going to go make something of yourself? Well, who are you and how dare you? I'm just plodding along unhappy in my life, and you're going to go out and be happy? What's wrong with you? That's usually the biggest problem, right, guys? You're going to go make something of yourself, so that pisses people off. So I think that what I want to wrap up here with is quite simple. Winston Churchill, and the quote's been thrown around in many different ways, and the basic Cole's notes of it all is that when you stand up for yourself and stand up for something that you believe in, you're going to make some enemies. And that should tell you that you're on the right track. If everybody loves you and everybody thinks you're awesome and nobody is upset with you ever, you're likely just running the status quo, and the status quo is not going to get you to where you want to go. So the challenge is the next time you have a good idea and someone tears it down, just stick to your guns. Let them be upset. You'll find out very quickly that in the end, that upset moment, it's going to subside, and everything will go back to sort of quote-unquote normal. And that'll be the stepping stone for you to feel confident about making decisions, statements, whatever it is. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to, as I mentioned earlier, is inventory your book, your library. Inventory it so that you have titles and authors written down, and discuss it with somebody. If you don't have a mentor, trainer, coach, teacher, you should seek one out. I know that throughout my life, the mentors that I've had are the key to having had any kind of growth whatsoever. Even back when I was 19 years old and working in probably in that range, when I was working in the retail grocery industry, early 20s kind of thing. And I worked in retail grocery. I didn't have a mentor to that point. I was just a cocky SOB and didn't really, I was still trying to learn and grow, but I was doing it in all the wrong ways. So when I came across this mentor, at the time wasn't a mentor, but he did work within the industry, he was offering his services as a mentor, and I didn't even know what the heck that meant and didn't think I needed one. But I ran into a couple of really big challenges and got very, very frustrated. And that's when I pointed my compass in his direction and said, look, here's what I need. I need somebody to help me. And that's when my entire my mindset was flipped upside down and changed direction when I started working with him. And that's when I realized that we should always have mentors. I mean, it can be as simple as someone like Jim Rohn, who's not even alive, can be a mentor because he's created so much information that's accessible to the public. And but in order to have Jim Rohn as a mentor, you're going to need to listen to him every day. So that's what I mean by taking inventory of your mindset material, whether it's books or audios, and then discuss it with your mentor to try and determine if you're on the right track, using the right tools to put you in the right direction. I know that whenever I discuss this with my success mentor, the last 2 books that I've read were both from his suggestion, and one of them just blew my mind. It was an absolutely amazing book, and so I'll read any book anytime, and I've picked up books in the past, and I just, you look for a good book, you see it, you buy it. But every now and again, you should really spend some time with someone you're working with to try and point your compass in a direction, because there's so much out there when it comes to personal growth. You kind of want it to be in the wheelhouse of where you're headed, right? Where your goals are, where your dreams are, what you plan to be doing with your business, how successful you want to be, how much money you want to be making a month, what kind of lifestyle you want to live, how much time freedom you want, all those things. You need to be reading and feeding your brain in that direction, not just random personal growth books, because I've got lots of them behind me, and some of them I've read that I'm like, man, that's a good book, but it doesn't do anything for me. I couldn't give you a review of it. But then I've got another book here that I've read once, and I could spew forth 90% of the book and only read it once. Why? Because the book is amazing, and it is right in line with what I'm thinking and where I want to go. So that's important. And that's where a mentor and a coach can really come in handy, because they understand where you're going, what you want to accomplish, and they can help you with picking the mindset material that's going to make the most amount of impact and have the most amount of change. I'll leave you with a sort of a little Jim Rohn thing, and we'll call it a day. I believe and act as if it is impossible to fail. Only way to fail is to quit. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. You have the ability to totally transform every area in your life. And it all begins with your very own power of choice. Jim Rohn. We all have the choice, and we all have the option. It's time to choose, to make a change, get that mindset on track, and off you go. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.